Hello. As we've talked about in our research group, it is very important that the Great Lakes Science Center exhibit be fully functional. And so I sent folks a link to a page in Notion that contains instructions for determining whether it's functioning and a little spreadsheet here essentially for recording every time someone assesses function. And what I've suggested is we need to assess it every day that the exhibit is open, ideally a couple times during those days, but also probably on Wednesday. So the museum's open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at these hours. Probably good to check it a couple hours or an hour or so before it opens so that you can take action and contact someone at the museum if it's not working, so they can try to get it working before it opens. Obviously, there's no point in analyzing video data if the exhibit is not working properly. I also wanted to check it on Wednesdays, just so since it opens on Thursday, make sure that everything's working a day before because we're more likely to get it fixed beforehand. But there are instructions here, pretty simple for how you go about doing that. The first thing you want to do in your assessment is to go to the Nest camera, which I have linked here. Sometimes this link doesn't totally work, but it's working right now. Hopefully you've already figured out how to get onto the Nest cameras that are used to monitor the exhibit. And it does take a while for this to load. You just got to be patient. There's nothing wrong with it right now. It's just taking a little bit of time. But you can see it's actually showing us the exhibit right now. And there are three things you want to check carefully in this exhibit. The two main signs, this is what we refer to as the Community Voices sign or the CV sign. This is what we refer to as the Dashboard Story sign or DS sign. And you want to see that this is changing and showing Community Voices content, and it is in fact doing that. I can see that right now. And this is showing, I can see the little squirrel on the right here. And even though the screen looks pretty white, I'm pretty sure there's time series data that I'm looking at on this screen. So it is a bunch of different story content if the screen is black, if the screen is totally white, if it's got some funky thing on it. You got to get a sense of it, but you can pretty easily tell whether these screens are working. This should actually be rotating through content. So the fact that I'm seeing this time series for a prolonged period of time has me concerned that maybe it is not working. This touchpad is critical and it's a little hard to tell from this distance. So the best thing to do is to zoom in. So I'm over here at this little zoom menu here and I'm zooming in, and then I can drag my screen over there and take a look at this. You can see it still shows me the whole view in the right, but now I'm looking just at that little touch screen there. And you might feel like, well, it's really hard to tell what's on the screen, but I can tell you if the buttons are on the screen, you can see them. You'll see little round buttons here for people to press, and this is not the button. It looks like it is turned on, but it is not showing the controller screen, and so it is not functional. So I'm going to pay attention to what time this is. We are at 10:53 on 2:10, and I'm going to record that in the database, what I've just seen. So I'm going to make a new entry in this table down here. And this first column here is where you enter your name. And if you just click on this, it's going to show you all the people on our team, and you can find your name and click on it. And then to the right of that, in the next column, you want to indicate when you checked it, and it's going to sort of default to this. Now you need to click this little button here so you can include time. So then it gives me time here, and I just checked it at 10:53 p.m. And then if I hit return on that, I should be able to advance to the next one. The DS screen, I'm going to actually say no, it's not working. And I want to select from that box. I want things to look consistent here. The CV screen is working. The touch screen is not working. And okay, so in this section, I actually need to download a file. So this is the last time the touch screen was touched. And to know that, you need to get into a file that records every time a button is pressed on there. There's software that is recording exactly the time that button is pressed. And I get to that through this link here. And I found that clicking on this link doesn't seem to work for me. I need to copy and paste this into my browser to get it to work. So I'm going to copy it and paste it into the browser, hit return. And what you're going to see is it's then going to prompt you to download a file that says button interaction. And if you've downloaded it before, it's going to enumerate it with a number. And since I seem to have 3 downloads of it, it's going to do that. And I click go ahead, and you can see it's in the process of downloading that. Now, it downloads as a .csv file. A .csv file is just a comma delimited spreadsheet file. And on my computer, it's recognized by Excel, but if you have any sort of spreadsheet program or you drag it into Google Sheets, you should be able to open that program. And so I just opened that file, and it's a little confusing sometimes in Excel. I'm not sure how it looks in other programs, but if it's too narrow, it'll give you these things, which is confusing. You just sort of need to widen that column, and that'll give you a date. And I widen this first column, so I could see what buttons were pressed and when they were pressed. So the last button pressed was the play pause button on that controller, and it was pressed on 2/6/21 at 1400 or 2 o'clock. But if you look back here, you can see all the buttons that were pressed, and you can see, Our Lake was pressed many times in a row. You can see many of them are not even are not a minute apart. So I think it was often the case, kids sort of poking very rapidly on buttons, but it records every one of those. And this is a key part of our research is tracking what buttons people press and how long they press. So this is very important data, but for now, all we're concerned with is the last time it was pressed, because it's probably indicative of the last time the touchscreen was actually functional. So 2/6/21 at 2 o'clock, and I'm going to go back to Notion and record that here as Saturday the 6th. And again, I'm going to have to press this include time, and it was at 2 p.m. And I'll hit return on that, and it will have entered that. Now notice that's the same as the last time because it hasn't been working since then. It's still not working. And last time I actually went back and took a screenshot I viewed the camera, and I'll make that a little bit bigger, because I could see exactly when the time was when it had basically last recorded, and you can see this girl here interacting with the screen. And you can see a moment later, it's showing you the blank screen you're seeing now. So this is the very instant in time when it broke. And there's probably something about what this little girl did that broke the screen at that time. And obviously we need to get to the bottom of that. That's why I saved that clip at that particular time. But at any rate, here I'd probably put a note saying time series graph is up on DS screen, but I am not seeing an advancing sequence of content. So just going back to the Nest camera for a second, let me get out of this. Go back and look at that screen. See, this is still on that same scroll graph. This rotates, if no one's touching the screen, this rotates through a set of content. And so one slide does not stay up for a prolonged period of time. So there's something wrong, not just with the touchpad, but also with the screen. Both of those things are not functioning. And so it's very important to reach out. And Caitlin's going to be adding some information to this here about who to contact when something isn't working, and it may be a different person on different days of the week. But basically, I've just kind of gone through the process of the 2 things you need to do: looking at the Nest camera, looking at the screens and the touchpad, and then also downloading that file to see when the last time someone interacted with a touchpad. So that's it.